Did Tyler Robinson kill Charlie Kirk? The FBI has released transcripts of alleged text messages that took place between Tyler and his roommate, Lance, who authorities claim is his gay lover in the early stages of transitioning genders. This closes the case, right? Well, not exactly, because there are still inconsistencies in this narrative, whether it's due to a deliberate cover-up or sheer incompetence, or both. In this video, we are going to explore all the details the FBI have released about the shooter thus far and make sense of the narrative the authorities are attempting to establish. We're going to talk about the route that Tyler allegedly took to assassinate Kirk. We're going to talk about the rifle, the text messages, and the information war raging over how to interpret Kirk's final days. So buckle up, because this video is going to be a long one. Now, my intention with this video is not to suggest that Tyler Robinson is innocent, nor is it to suggest that he is guilty. I simply want to present the information that the FBI, the mainstream media, and independent journalists have shared about Tyler in order to give you a greater understanding of the situation. Some of this information is subject to change. Much of it already has since the beginning of this saga last week. So take everything with a massive grain of salt. Let's first start with what the FBI claims Tyler did on the day of the shooting. The FBI claims that Tyler Robinson woke up on the morning of the shooting, took a rifle, which some are describing as either a Remington or a sporterized Mauser 30-06 that was gifted to him, potentially by his own grandfather. Robinson then drove approximately 3.5 to 4 hours, depending on traffic conditions, the route he decided to take and whether or not he stopped for any reason, from Washington, Utah to Utah Valley University campus in Orem, Utah. According to TMZ, a ring door from a house nearby the campus captured the suspect wearing a different outfit walking across the street near the university at 8:07 a.m. This is very important. There are two things to note here. One, if this is indeed the same person, then the suspect mapped out his path a few hours before the shooting. This is important because, as we will explore in just a bit, the suspect took a very direct path from the street to the university, to the roof, to the gunshot, to his escape. So, if Tyler truly mapped out his route a couple of hours before, then there should be video showing him on campus and near the roof at 8 a.m. in the morning. As of now, however, we do not have any footage that confirms that. 2. If it is indeed Tyler, then it means he would have had to leave his home in Washington, Utah at 4 or 4:30 in the morning. Again, it is a 3.5 to 4 hour drive from where he lives to the university campus in Orem, Utah. This is how and why he would have been there early enough in Orem, Utah to be captured walking across this house. Now fast forward 3.5 hours. At approximately 11:49 a.m., the ring camera of the same house near campus captures the suspect limping across the street. It is believed that he was limping because he had the rifle tucked into his pants, presumably in one of his pant legs. At this bush, he takes a right and cuts through the grass in the direction of this parking lot. A minute later, at 11:50 a.m., a UVU surveillance camera captured the suspect walking across a grassy area north of Campus Drive. At this time, the suspect takes out what appears to be his phone and looks at it for about 3 minutes. It is unclear what he was doing on his phone. He could have been taking a phone call, checking Google Maps, or reading text messages. We simply do not know. At 11:53, he places his phone back into his right pocket and enters this pedestrian tunnel, which takes him underground and across the street. It's unclear exactly what happens over the next 9 minutes because it takes him quite a while to walk from this area to this area where he is then captured by cameras again. He could be walking slowly because of the alleged rifle he's keeping in his pants, or perhaps he's having second thoughts. We just don't know. So 9 minutes later, at 12:02, cameras capture him here on the north side of the Losi Center. He seems to drag his feet again because this time it takes him 13 minutes to get from here to the southeastern side of the Losi Center, where he finally enters the building through these doors at 12:15. Now at this point, the suspect picks up the pace. Where it took him 9 minutes and 13 minutes before to cover a short distance, it now only takes him 2 minutes to move across the entire building. He is observed at a stairway leading to the common area of the Losi Center. I couldn't find any clear photos of the common area of the Losi Center, but I called the university and they told me that it is apparently on the second floor. According to the FBI, there is a short wall, presumably outside, that Tyler jumped in order to get onto the north side of the roof. So within 2 minutes, by 12:17, Tyler is finally on the north side of the roof, crouching down near a wall. They don't specify which wall, but we are assuming that it is this one right here. For 5 minutes, the suspect stays in this area of the roof. During this 5-minute window, it is believed that he pulled out the rifle and prepared to make his shot. Suddenly, at 12:22, the suspect begins running to the west side of the roof. The notable limp is now gone, according to the FBI. In less than 1 minute, the suspect is in a prone position facing west towards the courtyard where Charlie Kirk was located under the tent. A person on campus captured video footage of the suspect on the roof laying down in a prone position on the corner of the building.
Getting right up.
Yeah. You think he'd already be in place?
You would think that. So there's somebody on the roof right there? Just saying?
Huh.
He just ran from, over, where's my finger? Well, from over there, ran in, and now he's right there. Just saying.
This must have been mere seconds before the shooting because according to the FBI, the suspect was only in this position for about 1 minute. Then, at 12:23, Charlie Kirk was shot in the neck.
We had a flag and we had it so it was positioned above the tent so it would be in the camera and made us move.
What was that?
Oh my God! He just got shot! Holy shit! Holy shit!
Seconds later, the suspect stood up and began running back towards the north side of the building. In this viral video here from across the courtyard, the suspect is seen moving across the roof. Within 1 minute, at 12:24, the suspect arrives at the northeast corner of the building and approaches the edge of the rooftop. He places a dark-colored item on the edge of the rooftop and carefully lowers himself before dropping onto the ground. A couple of seconds later, still at 12:24, the suspect is seen moving across the grass towards Campus Drive. He pauses for cars before he crosses the street towards this wooded area. According to the FBI, it is believed the suspect dropped off the rifle in this wooded area. That night, police found a rifle in what they describe as a dark-colored towel. According to authorities, the rifle was a Mauser 98 .30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle. During the suspect's time in the wooded area where the rifle was dropped off, it is also believed that he changed his clothes, eventually discarding the original outfit somewhere else. Now let's quickly recap all of this. Per the FBI narrative, Tyler limped across campus carrying a bolt-action rifle inside of his pants. He jumps a wall towards the roof, pulls the rifle out of his pants, runs across the roof again, settles down into a prone position, and just 1 minute after getting into his spot, he fires at Kirk directly in the neck from anywhere between 150 to 200 yards. Now it's time to ask some questions. Is it possible for Tyler to run across the roof, get into position with adrenaline rushing, zero in on Kirk, and take the shot with perfect accuracy? Maybe. This is hard for me to believe, but I can't call it impossible. Let's ask another question. Could Tyler have really had the rifle stuffed into his pants? In these photos of the suspect, we don't see any evidence of a rifle tucked into his pants, which are tight enough to at least reveal his cell phone in his pocket. If the barrel of the rifle were tucked into his pants, it would be difficult to bend his right knee here and his left knee here. But don't take this as confirmation of anything, because we do not have the timestamps of these photos shared by the authorities. Here's the issue that arises from not having these timestamps. If these photos of Tyler are from before the shooting, then according to the FBI narrative, the rifle would presumably be in his possession, and we could therefore poke holes in the idea that they were somehow in his pants, or even his book bag. But if the photos are from after the shooting, then it's possible the rifle has already been dropped off in the woods. So we can't look at these photos without verified timestamps and use it as proof that he never had the rifle tucked into his pants. Now, in the ring video footage captured outside this home, we do see the suspect limping with a slight bend of his right knee. So if the rifle were in his pants, we can assume from this footage that it was in his right pant leg. His right hand seems to be holding his pants up or out, potentially to keep the pants baggy enough so that an impression of the rifle couldn't be noticed as he limped by. And his shirt is long enough and perhaps baggy enough for the stock stock of the rifle to be concealed in his abdomen area. Now, I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. If we revisit the photos of the suspect at the two different staircases, we don't see any rifle barrel or stock in his pants or underneath his shirt. But again, since there are no timestamps of these photos, we do not know if this was before or after the shooting, so we cannot commit to the idea that he never had a rifle in his pants. The suspect did also have a large book bag on. It was possible that the rifle, or at least parts of it, were kept in there. But let's revisit the rifle. The FBI claims the rifle was found wrapped in a dark towel. However, in the image released by authorities, we don't see a dark towel. The rifle is on a cardboard box, long enough to hold the rifle. The box has little wear and tear, suggesting that it is brand new. It could be that the authorities brought this box in order to collect the rifle, or I'll let you put the tinfoil hat on. Going back to the book bag, the only way the rifle could have been placed inside is if the rifle was somehow foldable. According to this self-proclaimed gun expert speaking to mainstream media, custom guns can be broken down in just 2 seconds.
Quickly, if it is broken down, because it doesn't look like he's jumping with a long rifle tucked in his leg. It looks like it's got to be in that backpack. So how quickly could he break it down if he needed to break it down?
A second or two.
What?
Literally just push a button and wrap it around, push another button and wrap it back. They're designed to be able to be put into full length mode or compact mode extremely quickly.
But the barrel cannot be folded. The stock of the rifle could potentially fold like this.
You are able to purchase a folding stock adapter from MDT, which is a very big deal. Basically, it just acts as a coupler between the chassis system itself and the butt stock.
But in this image, it does not seem as though the stock of the rifle is foldable. I found an almost identical Mauser for sale online. The stock version also isn't foldable. So there isn't any reason to believe that the rifle could have been folded. What I did find on the gun online, however, were screws. This is interesting because the FBI claims that the suspect left behind a screwdriver on the roof. The screws can disconnect the trigger guard, which is this little round area here where the trigger is, and potentially the scope. Removing these items would theoretically help the suspect keep the entire rifle in his pants with the stock of the gun in his abdomen area. Again, I'm not saying that's what he did, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate. During the 5 minutes the suspect was on the roof, he could have been rescrewing either the trigger guard or the scope back on. But here's the thing, for rifles to be accurate, the scope has to be zeroed or calibrated. Zeroing your scope is dialing in your reticle so that the point of aim matches the point of impact. If these do not match, you will miss the target you are aiming at. To zero in, you have to mount your scope, torque the base and rings, set it for proper eye relief, level the reticle, and bore sight it. After all of this, you then need to test fire the rifle at different ranges, waiting for the barrel to cool down in between shots so that you can get an accurate alignment of the point of aim and the point of impact. For this reason, shooters will often have something called a quick detach mount for quickly swapping different kinds of scopes while maintaining accuracy, because the process of detaching a scope could affect its alignment.
Now, what's important to remember when you remove these, just remember a specific amount of slots, because if you do move it forward and back, then obviously yes, that is going to change to 0. So just remember, so I can see here, I remember 2 slots. If I remember 2 slots there and that slides in there, that will fit in exactly the same place there. All I've done is say just release those 2 there, and that simply rolls off like that.
Now, I'm not an expert, so I can't tell you if there is a QD on this rifle. It doesn't look like it to me though. But if you're an expert, let me know in the comment section. Now, if the suspect removed the scope beforehand and reattached it on the roof or kept it in his pants, it would not be impossible that there was still an alignment, but it does add another layer of complexity to the shooting. So in summary, there are quite a few questions that need clarification. Did the suspect really carry the rifle in his pants? Did the suspect reattach the scope onto his rifle in a way that maintained accuracy during his 5 minutes on the roof? Or would keeping the rifle with the scope attached in his pants have affected the accuracy and alignment? Is it likely that the shooter was able to run across the roof, get into a prone position, control his breathing, aim at Kirk, and fire accurately in 1 minute? When the suspect jumps off the roof, is he holding the rifle covered in a dark towel like the FBI claimed? When the authorities found the rifle, was there ever a dark towel? Is there any surveillance footage on campus that can corroborate the idea that the suspect was mapping out the area like he supposedly was at 8:07 a.m. the morning of the shooting? Why did the suspect take 9 minutes and 13 minutes to travel a short distance, but then only 2 minutes to get on the roof? Let me know your answers in the comment section. Now let's move on and discuss these text messages the FBI released. The text messages are allegedly between Tyler and his roommate. Now, the media claimed that the roommate is his trans lover, but in the charging document against Tyler filed in Utah, there is no mention of his roommate being trans. They describe him as a biological male who was in a romantic relationship with Tyler. At some point after the suspect dropped off the rifle, Tyler allegedly began texting his roommate and lover, Lance, and made all sorts of confessions that are now being used against him as evidence. I'm going to read those exchanges to you now. Robinson originally contacted his roommate on September 10th, the day of the shooting, and told him, quote, "Drop what you are doing, look under my keyboard." It was there that the roommate allegedly found a note in their St. George apartment that read, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. Cap, cap, cap." The roommate immediately responded, "What? You're joking, right?" This is allegedly the note that Discord referenced in their statement and that FBI Director Kash Patel claims was physically destroyed.
The written note, we believe, what did exist, and we have evidence to show what was in that note, which is, and I'm going to summarize, basically saying, the suspect wrote a note saying, "I have the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." That note was written before the shooting. Evidence of its existence, we now have learned, existed before the shooting, was in the location in the suspect and partner's home. But we have since learned that the note, even though it has been destroyed, we have found forensic evidence of the note, and we have confirmed what that note says because of our aggressive interview posture at the FBI.
So the FBI doesn't actually have this note, but they claim they have forensic evidence of its destruction and they know the contents of it. Below is a transcript of the remaining conversation between the two. Robinson: "I am still okay, my love, but am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you." Roommate: "You weren't the one who did it, right?" "I am. I'm sorry. I thought they caught the person." "No, they grabbed some crazy old dude and then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet. Almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering." "Why? Why did I do it?" "Yeah. I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Hopefully, they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it." "How long have you been planning this?" "A bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. I don't know if it had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the f will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The fucking messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notices bulge ooh woo on Fox News, I might have a stroke. Alright, I'm gonna have to leave it. That really sucks. Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine. I don't know. I think that was a $2,000 scope. Then Robinson instructs his roommate lover to delete this exchange. Some time passes and then the texts continue. "My dad wants photos of the rifle. He says Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle and it is very unique. He's calling me right now, not answering. Since Trump got into office, my dad has been pretty diehard MAGA. I'm gonna turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors here is a deputy for the sheriff. You are all I worry about, love. I'm much more worried about you. Don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. If any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent." All right. A lot of people are roasting these messages as being a very obvious fake exchange written by the FBI to match their claims that Tyler is the shooter. Even Steve Bannon thinks they were fabricated.
And no, I am not buying the script that was in the text messages. I think so much more has got to be done about this. I think the parents ought to be brought in. I think everybody in the discourse channel, the roommate. What do you mean the roommate sounds like their accessory and not turning him in?
I don't know. There are a few texts that are ridiculous and convenient. For example, Tyler starts the conversation by saying, "I don't want to involve you," and then he proceeds to involve the fuck out of his lover. At no point did his roommate pick up the phone and say, "Yo, what are you talking about?" They just continue to text, which is also a bit odd. Then we have the note. It's strange that the FBI would describe the exchange about the note instead of just releasing it as a transcript the way they did for the remainder of the conversation. Also, during the text, there doesn't seem to be any instruction from Tyler to his roommate to destroy the note. It is possible that the roommate interpreted the instructions at the very end to delete these messages as an instruction to also destroy the note, but that isn't made clear. The part about the crazy old dude, George Zinn, is also a bit odd. Zinn was arrested after initially claiming that he was the shooter. While being taken away, he declared, "Shoot me, shoot me."
Shoot me! Shoot me! Was that you? We don't know if it's him or not.
Now, Zinn has a very weird past. He was apparently present in New York City on 9/11, the Boston Marathon bombing, and now the Charlie Kirk assassination. He's like Agent Smith from The Matrix. He's just always fucking there. Zinn says that he only claimed to be the shooter so he could help the actual shooter get away. But what kind of person does that? This has led many to believe that Zinn was somehow involved, potentially part of a team to distract the authorities on that day. But don't worry, because Tyler allegedly exonerates him by saying, "Nah, he's just some crazy old dude." By the way, during the course of investigating Zinn after he purposely got himself arrested, authorities found child pornography on his phone. Now, he's currently in jail. As for the other person wearing similar clothing, it's unclear who this person is. There isn't any evidence that I know of someone in all black being detained and interrogated by the police. Another unusual part of these texts is that Tyler claims, "To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age." But then he goes on to spill the beans about virtually every detail of the assassination. He continued, "If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence, except every text message he is sending is damaging evidence that he's leaving behind." For a guy that tried so hard to escape and had concerns for microscopic evidence like DNA and fingerprints, he's leaving behind quite the trail through these texts. Another weird thing is the comments about his father being pissed off about him not bringing the gun home. Firstly, I don't imagine his father would be worried that he didn't bring back the rifle. He'd probably be more concerned that you just shot and killed someone. Secondly, there are reports in the media that the rifle was a gift, potentially from his grandfather. So why would his dad even care where the rifle was at this point, especially given that the FBI hadn't even discovered the rifle yet? And how would he even know that it's missing if Tyler no longer lives with him at the family home? Also, Tyler's grandmother told the media, "I don't even think he owns a gun." Now, I don't know this for sure, but if the grandfather being referenced in these texts is her husband, how could she not know that the grandfather potentially gifted him the rifle? Here's where the texts become laughably stupid. Tyler allegedly proceeds to connect every dot for the FBI. "Remember how I was engraving bullets? The fucking messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notices bulge ooh woo on Fox News, I might have a stroke." Now, it could be that Tyler was clever enough to pull this off, but naive and ignorant enough to believe that these text messages he was sending wouldn't be used against him. It's also possible that he subconsciously wanted to get caught in order to receive credit. So it is possible that these messages are real, but I have to admit, it's almost as if these messages were fabricated to directly pin Tyler as the shooter. Only time will tell. Now, towards the end of the messages, there's a time jump. At this point, it seems as though the FBI have released images of the suspect and the gun, so Tyler's father is allegedly suspicious and believes Tyler could be the assassin. So the father asks Tyler for proof that he still has the gun. Tyler can't send photos of the rifle because he no longer has it, which would confirm for his father that he is actually the killer. Tyler says, "Grandfather is asking." So again, this is another confusing part that needs clarification, because if the grandfather is the husband of the grandmother that said the FBI has the wrong man, and if they are not divorced and still live together, then there is something highly unusual about this. Because while talking to the media, the grandmother claims claims that she had not heard from her son about Tyler's arrest and claims that the FBI have the wrong man. So if the gun belonged to the grandfather, if he's asking where the rifle is, and if he's still in a relationship with the grandmother, how could she not know about any of this before speaking to the media and insisting that there's no way it could have been Tyler? All in all, the text messages are sus. This social media user sums it up perfectly. The text messages between Robinson and his trans roommate are totally unbelievable, and it reads like it was contrived by an intel agency to close the case. No one, especially someone who got a 34 on his ACT, would be dumb enough to go to such lengths to cover up his assassination and then just openly admit to everything in great detail in writing on the internet. They think we are retarded. As of now, it is unclear what the hell is going on. According to the governor of Utah, Tyler still has not confessed and isn't cooperating with the authorities directly. There are questions about the timeline of the assassination, and there is more and more information coming out about Charlie Kirk being harassed and intimidated by Zionist Jews in his final days. Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson have been corroborating many of the details the Grayzone released about Charlie Kirk feeling intimidated, harassed, and afraid of the Zionists. Now, if you're interested in more information on this and the Israel connection to Charlie Kirk and potentially their complicity in his assassination, go ahead and watch the video I just produced about this topic. Lastly, I want to point out a few things about the bullet that supposedly hit Charlie Kirk. This is a .30-06 caliber bullet, and this is the ballistics gel test of that bullet.
So we have a realistic human head here, made with ballistics gelatin and a resin skull, and it's got a filling in there, so hopefully you'll be able to see what happens. Slow-mo for you.
As you can see, the head explodes. Kirk's neck, however, did not explode. There are reports that there is allegedly an exit wound in the back of Charlie's head near his ear, but we don't see any bullet holes in the banner behind him. So if this bullet really did hit Charlie, I imagine that A, his neck potentially would have exploded, just like this head does in the ballistic gel test video, and B, it could have exited the back of his head and pierced through the banner behind him. But neither of those things seem to have happened. These are just some questions for you to consider. In my next video, I'll explore who Tyler is, where he lived, and what he was up to before Charlie Kirk's assassination, because it's all very interesting and I think important to the story, especially given the way that the media and the government are politicizing this assassination. Now, these videos take a lot of my time, so please consider supporting my channel with a donation. The link is in the comment section. Thank you and take care.
Trust nothing. No laws.